Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Well, we're out here once again working on the Ratty Satty. It's a 68 Plymouth Satellite that we are turning into a drag race car as well as an autocross car. Now, we wanted to do both. We wanted to have fun on the street, but also to be able to go faster than hell in a straight line and also fast around corners. And I'm hoping we do that here over the next couple episodes. Now, last time you guys saw me install all of the metalwork that was needed on the car. We sectioned in a trunk pan. We also got the S&W roll cage in the car, as well as some pieces around that rear window. And I used a couple Rust-Oleum cans, touched up as much paint as I'm going to on this car. And yeah, it's time to start assembly work. And as bad as I wish that I was slamming that Tunnel Ram 440 with Keith Black pistons, aluminum heads, comp cams, Harlan Sharp roller rockers, which is what this car is getting. And I'm kind of excited about it, as you can tell. But as much as I wish that was going in this episode, it's just not gonna happen right now. But we're still waiting on a couple parts to come in, so bear with me, okay? But instead, in this episode, we're gonna knock out a lot of odds and ends stuff. We've got, as you guys can see right there, Kirkey racing seat set up, and also some Henderson Race Shop brackets, which are absolutely mint, by the way. I'll show you guys those in just a second. We've got to get those in. We've got some Racequip 5-point harnesses. We've also got the rear window we've got to get in, all the trim, all that stuff. Pray to God we don't see sunlight around that thing from the inside of the car. But yeah, we've got to get a lot of random stuff done. We've also got to get the full front and rear suspension dropped out of this car and get this thing ready to really assemble, because the QA1 parts should be here in like 3 or 4 days. So a whole lot of work to do. I'm gonna stop talking and yeah, let me show you guys these racing seats. Alright, you guys, so what we're looking at here, we've got the Kirkey 551-85. That's 18.5 inches wide for my big ass to fit into this seat. Now, a lot of you guys will probably run thinner. I could have gone thinner, I guess, but it would have been a little bit tight on the hips, and frankly, these hips don't lie, okay? Now, this will give me enough room to comfortably sit into the seat with the cover that'll be here tomorrow, as well as, you know, if I'm wearing thermals or if I'm wearing a suit possibly in the future, something like that, this will give me plenty of room and it won't be too tight of a squeeze. But overall, guys, the seat's fantastic. Now, I did buy this thing on Amazon, which was a really good buy. Got here in a couple days, prime shipping, I believe, and arrived in fantastic shape overall. But when I was in that checkout, it asked me, like, hey, do you want the brackets installed? And I said, sure, why not? Well, giant waste of money, guys. Quite honestly, if you're running flat fours, then it would work really, really good. But with this car, it's not flat, at least across both sides, okay? You can see right here, the 2 holes, one right there, one over here. And then on the inside, actually, there's just a little dimples because this was a bench seat car. So we'll have to drill those 2 holes out. But the inside of the car is actually raised higher than the outside. And so those brackets wouldn't work. And so what I ended up doing, did a quick search, found a great company made in the USA. This is from Henderson Racing, and they're really, really nice. They're powder coated black, as you can see here. Like I mentioned, this is the outer one, which is taller than the inside one, and it is meant to fit that seat into the 68 to 70 Plymouth B-body. So it looks like a great fit, guys, as far as the contour goes on the bottom of the seat, as well as it fits in the factory location. So no drilling out any holes or anything like that in your car. They are marked passenger and driver, as you can see right here, and they come with all the hardware that you need to put these in the car. So what we'll do real quick, we'll go ahead, we'll slap these into the car. We'll then put the seat in there, make sure they're, you know, far enough forward or back, what have you, and then we'll mark the bottom of the seat and drill whatever holes that we need to permanently mount these into place. After that, we're gonna move on to installing our Racequip 5-point harnesses. Again, guys, another Amazon score here. Now, one word of caution, your harnesses do have an expiration date, okay? Typically, I believe it's like 2 years or 3 years from the date of manufacturer. So it looks like I got about 2.5 years roughly on these guys. Now, I have seen some cases where they've been sitting on the shelf for a long time and they actually arrive expired, which is no good. That's not the case with this. This will give us plenty of time. I wanna say this kit, again, another Amazon score, guys, shipped to my house for $100. Can't beat that. So we do have another seat as well for the passenger side of the car. We will probably leave that out just so that way we have enough space to get in, get out, do whatever we need to do under the dash. I don't want it to be completely inaccessible for us here because, again, we still have a lot of work to do, especially inside of the car. Well, I totally get it now. The damn seat cover cost about as much as the seat did, actually. But holy smokes, is it nice. And again, I'm actually really happy that I went with the wider seat. Figure all this out. Hopefully we're pretty close to length. So I went ahead, I screwed everything into the factory seat belt holes actually, and all went in really good. I did have to replace the 7/16 inch bolts, but everything is super tight. The only thing that I did have to drill was the crotch hole, or the crotch mount on the bottom. But really with the 5-point harness, that harness as stated in the instructions, or at least that mounting point, is really more for keeping the placement of the lap belt. So it's at, I believe, a 20-degree angle down, so it's actually kind of facing in line with the top of my chest. But okay, we're gonna have to get a lot better and faster at putting this thing on. But I think I'm actually really close to having the adjustments where I want them. Oh, there we go. Oh man, this thing is like rock solid tight. Ooh, it's a little tight down there too. But man, super happy. It's definitely going to keep me in place pretty darn good. So yeah, like I said, we'll get at least the passenger side mounted to the floor, but then we'll stop right there. We'll put in the other seat, kind of the very last thing, like after the wiring's done, after everything else is done. So down here, we've also got the shifter to move back, which, like if I'm sitting up right here, I mean, it's at least probably a foot to 18 inches too far forward. And again, that's because of the bench seat that was in this thing. So we can definitely slide that back, which should also help me fix the cable issues with it having to be routed up and over the top of the transmission. We should be able to get rid of that entirely. So yeah, very happy with how that turned out. And yeah, I think we'll get this shifter slid back and then we'll jump on to the rear window. All right, so I've got my back window all prepped out here. We've got all of our clips in place and it's time to start installing this rear glass. Now I have already prepped out this rear window here. You guys can see we've got all of our clips in. I also took some wax and grease remover and cleaned basically the mating surface of where the ribbon seal is gonna go and where the glass is gonna meet that. Now the directions for the 3M window weld ribbon sealer does call out a very specific primer, but of course we didn't buy that. So hopefully we don't have any adhesion issues, but you're gonna wanna make sure that that's a nice clean surface that you're putting your ribbon seal on. Now these clips, I will say I bought these off eBay. I think they are specific. The Charger ones are not the same as the rest of like the Roadrunner and the Satellite ones, so just make sure you're correct on which ones to buy. But these clips should be flush with the sheet metal, okay? They should not be sticking up. If they're sticking up, then your trim's not gonna sit flat. If it's sticking too far down, then these clips will not fully engage, and there's a good chance that your rear window trim may find itself on the side of the highway, which would make for a very, very bad day. Now, the window seal, guys, it's nothing special here. It's basically, it has the look, the feel, the consistency of like a rope of black licorice, but it does get very tacky when it gets heated up. Now, in my house and also outside, it did firm up quite a bit. It was still pretty sticky, but it was not going to lay flat, or at least as flat as what I wanted it to. So busted out my ice fishing buddy heater here. We're cooking this stuff right now, and you can see it's sagging just a little bit, which is what you want. Now, you also want to make sure you wear gloves with this stuff because it will pick up lint. It will pick up all the dust and dirt and all the oils and junk that's on your hands. So make sure that the surface is clean, and also make sure your hands are clean. You also want to make sure your glass is clean. So T-Bone last night spent quite a bit of time actually cleaning this glass up for me. Quite a nerve-wracking experience, as I thought this for sure would get destroyed, but he actually did a really nice job. And he cleaned up the glass, and he also cleaned up the rear window trim. So all the years and years of putting the Flex Seal and caulk and who knows what else was on here. Yeah, we got most of it cleaned off. I'd say about 99%. I'm gonna hit it one more time real quick with some Windex, just clean it up and make sure that our mating surface is nice and clean, so that way we can lay it into this back window and hopefully not have any issues. Now the last part that I want to mention too is that the kit does come with these little rubber grommet pieces which do sit on the bottom window channel. Now what that is for is to make sure that as you're laying the glass in there that you have the right and consistent and even spacing across the bottom of the window channel. So these have like a little groove in them, and yeah, you're just going to lay the window in there and should have good spacing all the way around. And at that point you'll only have to worry about the side to side, which it really can't play that much. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's start wrapping this window seal around. We'll start here, 6 o'clock position, work our way all the way around back to this side, and we will be ready to lay some glass in. Alrighty guys, well the sealant hasn't quite dried yet, and my man T-Bone's already over here anxious to lift the car up so we can get the front and rear suspension out from underneath of it, but wanted to walk you real quick through how the rear window turned out. Now overall I'd say it went pretty darn good. Now the seal itself laid down okay. I think heating it was absolutely critical, and you know, definitely led to a good tight seal all the way around the car. But I did have to take the heat gun in a couple different places, heat that up, and really push down the window to flatten out that seal all the way around. From there, went around, clipped in our trim, and then I also added a little bit of extra reassurance, and I did add some adhesive or clear sealant all the way around the outside perimeter of the window as well as the inside. So overall, I mean, the fitment's pretty good. Pretty happy with it. You can see it's still kind of shiny from the sealant, so we may try to scrape off some of that excess, but overall, really happy with it. Now I guess at this point we can get the car up onto the lift and we can start removing this front and rear suspension, because I think all of our goodies for this car are going to be here in about 2 days. So let's wheel the cart out and let's get the suspension dropped out of the car. Alrighty guys, and with that we have the front and rear suspension completely off the car. And I guess as I'm standing here saying this, I'm realizing those are the last parts to come off of the car. From here on out, it is putting race car parts or cool parts, fast parts, whatever you want to call it, new parts are going back on the car from here on out. Now taking a look here at the front suspension, everything came off super easy, which I'm really not accustomed to. I'm used to working on cars from the Midwest, whether it's the Cuda, the Charger, or any other car that I've worked on, it seems, you always end up finding rust down here in the bottom of the frame rails or on the inside, or you end up breaking off these nut plates here because they're just rusted out, and you end up having to cut open the frame rail and actually weld those nuts back on, and it's a giant pain, but not with this car. It's a little dirty, a little grimy, but she's absolutely solid as a freaking rock underneath. Now on the inside here, kind of the same thing. We've got some wiring to clean up. Even that new harness there, I'm really not a fan of how I routed some things. So we're gonna clean all that up. Probably in between videos here, but definitely before we put the engine in. But man, looking all around this thing, like I said, I think just to hit it real quick with the power wash and this thing would look like new in here. So really happy with it, nothing too crazy whatsoever. Looking here on the passenger side, kind of the same thing. So should make for a really quick and easy install of the new QA1 system that should be here in the next day or two. Now I already went ahead and got the rear axle out as you guys saw, and right now I have it coated in my top secret degreasing formula, which is nothing more complicated than Easy Off oven cleaner. Now I will let this kind of sit overnight, let it bake, and in the morning we'll hit it with some hot water through a pressure washer, and that rear axle will come out like new. What's really cool is that you guys saw on the Roadrunner a few episodes back when we were cleaning up that axle for the QA1 suspension, the Easy Off and the pressure washer will actually take all the dirt, all the grime, all the nasty off, but it actually left the factory markings like the yellow paint and all that kind of stuff that's from the factory originally. So we'll probably end up seeing quite a bit of that left on there, but that'll give us a nice surface for us to be able to grind on the tops here and weld in those upper trailing arm tabs once we get to installing the suspension. But looking underneath here, we've still got some ugly welds. You guys can see from the bottom side here that when we welded in the trunk, we did not detail out the top there. So we will go ahead and fix that up here while we have good access, and frankly while we're waiting on parts. But everything came out super easy, which makes me happy. But now looking here at the rear axle, some things that I do want to make sure I preserve. I'm really trying to take good care of the brake lines. Those are in really good shape. And then we are going to be converting this car to disc brakes, Wilwood disc brakes here when we do the suspension as well. So trying to save everything we can, the cables, all that stuff. We should be able to hook most of that back up, and I'm pretty sure it adapts. If not, we can figure it out, I guess, for the Wilwood brakes, but trying to keep everything that we can. And from here, guys, we just have a few more parts left. We've still got our suspension, like I said. We've got a couple more engine parts, and then I also have a few things at the machine shop right now that, I screwed up on a few things on the engine. I will share that with you in a future episode, and a valuable very expensive learning lesson for me as well. So I'll share that with you guys real soon. But we're 55 days out or so, I think, for mats. And man, I'm feeling the pressure. I hope everything comes in on time. I hope it all comes together on time because, I'm looking forward to sending this thing down the drag strip and also doing some fun laps on the autocross. So if you haven't done so yet, guys, hit that subscribe button. We are going to get right back to work, and we're going to start detailing out the bottom side of this car and get it ready for the QA1 suspension that'll be here this week. So stay tuned. I'll see y'all again real soon.